Well, hey there, and welcome to episode 2. We're going to talk about comparison tonight. Let's start with one of my favorite quotes. Comparison is the thief of all joy by Teddy Roosevelt. When we're like newbie momming, we would talk about comparison from the perspective of comparing ourselves versus like other moms. So our kids are little, and maybe Johnny is having his 5th birthday party. And we're at the party thinking, oh my gosh, Johnny's mom got ponies and Superman and this crazy, awesome superhero cake. And I just took 3 kids to Jungle Jacks for my son's birthday for a couple hours and gave them cupcakes from Safeway. That's us comparing in a bad way that's going to make us feel bad. So we like to compare ourselves to others and then always coming up short. And this turns into self-shaming. Now, don't worry. Self-shaming and shaming in general is a huge issue that women and moms have. And we're going to talk about that in a separate episode. But for now, we're going to stick to comparison because in midlife, I think this quote means something totally different. So instead of comparing ourselves to other people, I really feel and I notice that in midlife, we compare our older self, so our present day self, to our past younger self. And I think if you're in midlife, I think you know what I'm talking about. I know you know what I'm talking about because we're now comparing ourself going through a change, a total change. Midlife is like changes on all levels to who we were when we were in our prime. Like we were so good and we could do anything and everything was coming up roses for us. And that is what we compare ourselves to. And that never goes well because one of the keys to mastering midlife is really honoring where you're at now and being in the present moment. Like, where is your body at now? Where is your mind? What about like your purpose? Where is your purpose at? What about your goals or your priorities or your self-love? Where is your self-love at in this moment right here? And of course, you aren't going to be as young as you weren't once were. You're never going to be as young as you were. And so this is always a losing game that we play with ourselves and when we're in midlife. And here's how I like to think about it. Take an activity that you loved doing when you were younger. Like you were so good at it, you could just do it for hours. For me, it was soccer. I lived for soccer. Love, 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 love soccer. I still do. My dream was to go to college in the States just so I could play soccer. I had this dream of going into this big stadium and it would be packed full of other students and people would be cheering me on. And I didn't care what I studied. It was just, I wanted to have those moments of doing something that I was really good at and people coming out and watching and cheering me on. But when I was 18, I tore my ACL playing soccer. And then I had a full repair. And this was a long time ago. So they totally go in there and do all the stuff and then put you in a cast for 6 weeks. Now they just do scoping and you're out the next day. And then when I was in college, a couple of years later, I tore my ACL again playing soccer. So you'd think I would learn, but I didn't. So after that, my soccer playing days were over. So I had to find other things to do that were easier on my knee. And one of them was running. So I love to run. It made me feel so good. For me, running is like a moving meditation because I don't listen to music. I listen to my feet on the ground, crunching the rocks and the dirt below. And I just notice my breath and I get into a rhythm and I can solve all the world's problems. And I go into this meditation and I get my best creative downloads when I'm going for a run. And then one day I couldn't run anymore because of all my knee surgeries and scoping had caught up with me and I had arthritis. So I couldn't run anymore. And the doctor told me, stop running. And I was only 40 years old. And the doctor said, you're going to need a full knee replacement, but you're way too young. We don't do that till you're 70. So you're going to just have to do pain management until you're old enough to get a knee replacement. Okay, I was horrified, first of all, when they told me this. And second, I thought, no way, there's no way that that could be the answer. And this was when I actually started to study nutrition because I healed my knee. Let me say that differently. I got rid of the pain in my knee by changing my nutrition. Now, again, that's a whole other podcast. But for this situation, I couldn't run anymore. And so I needed to find something else to do. So as I get older in midlife, I can't run like I used to. I can't run at all. And I can't play soccer like I used to. So in order for me to not compare myself to the old version of me, the version that could do all of these things and do them well and love doing them and would go join the teams and go in the races and all that kind of stuff, I decided to take up a totally new sport that I had never done before. Because my thinking was, when we get older and we try to do the things we were really good at when we were younger, we never compare. We can never stand up. We could never be as good as or better than we were when we were in our prime, like when we had it going on. And so instead of trying to do that, I would just start a totally new sport because I'll always be getting better at it. And I can't compare myself to how I used to play it because I never used to play it. So I was safe from comparing myself to how I was when I was younger. So I couldn't actually compare myself because there was no before. And of course, it's a new sport, so I kind of sucked at it at first. I was new. That's what happens when you're doing something new, learning something new, but I improved over time. And of course, the more I practiced, the better I got. But because I was new at it, I only got better. I was being successful, so I felt good. So I wasn't comparing myself to my earlier, younger self. There was no comparison of the younger me to the now me. And noticing this feeling in my body, the not being good enough or me not being able to do things and feeling old, it was coming from me comparing my current midlife body, which is changing every time I turn around. My body is changing. And I was comparing that to my super younger self, and it felt horrible, horrible. And that's why a lot of people are struggling in midlife, is because we're comparing this version to the younger version. So instead of comparing ourselves, we want to honor and love ourselves. So we definitely want to change our mindset. And we notice as we get into midlife, we do change the things we do, but change the way we see ourselves, the way we think about ourselves. Comparing and judging ourselves is called being human. So in order to change it, we need to consciously change it. And the way you consciously change something is, first of all, you want to bring it into your awareness. You want to know that this is what you're doing. So if you find yourself feeling really down and upset and grumpy and not good enough, you're like, hey, am I comparing myself? Am I doing some comparison? Is the thief of all joy here? And if you can find that you're noticing it, you're naming it, you can refocus your brain to something different that serves you, because this isn't serving you and your brain is going to default there, the comparison. And so we're going to notice it and we're going to flip our brain over to really appreciating our bodies, really honoring our bodies and where we're at right now. Being grateful for all that it has done to get us here and all that it's doing now today, because in midlife, our bodies change. And most women struggle with this. Again, myself included. We struggle with it a lot because people don't talk about this. It kind of catches us by surprise. When you're pregnant and then you actually have your baby and you find all these things out that nobody told you about before. And you're like, damn, why didn't somebody tell me this? This is the same thing. This is what's happening to our bodies. And we as women, we just haven't talked about it. Now we want to talk about all of it so we don't have to suffer. Now, The number one reason my clients come and see me is because their bodies are changing. Literally overnight, they have gained a ton of weight right in their midsection, right in their stomach, literally overnight. Or they wake up one morning and there are mystery aches and pains all over their body. It happens that quickly. And that's where the comparison begins. Oh my gosh, like I never used to be so old or so, so rickety and so fragile. That's when the comparison begins. And we want to catch it right away because our body's changing. It's a part of midlife. So instead of compare and despair, we want to try compassion and understanding. We want to try changing how we think about ourselves. We want to try new things that really work for our midlife selves. And we want to really honor our body and love our body because our bodies are absolutely amazing things when we think about all the things that we've been able to do. Like the least of which is like creating human lives. These bodies have created human lives. So we really want to honor where we're at with our body. And remember, the answer to all of life's issues that we talked about in episode 1, remember I gave you the answer at the end of the book. Be kind and gentle with yourself as you're figuring this stuff out. You're not alone. It's happening to every single mama going through midlife. So you're in good company, ladies. So let's embrace our beautiful midlife bodies and all that they've done and all that they continue to do. I want to offer you these thoughts. This is who I am, and this is where I'm at. And I will love myself gently and kindly through all of it. Thanks for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first and have an amazing day.